there are many first-timers who may not know Dadiji. Dadi Ratan Mohini is one of the original jewels of Baba's Yagya. She has been with Baba ever since the establishment of the organization. Dadi is known as, in the Yagya, she is known as Youth Dadi. Even though she is 76 years. Dadi, ठीक है? 76 years?
12.
Huh? So, but she looks younger than all of us, and she's very active. She's always traveling everywhere, sharing Baba's knowledge, and she plays many different roles in Baba's Yagya. Even though she is so busy, we requested her to be with us this evening. So we are very happy that Dadi was able to make time. So we will enjoy listening to Dadi now. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Very quiet. Om Shanti. Not such hours. I confuse if I speak in Hindi or English.
Should I?
Translator.
Are you getting the translation? Yes.
Okay,
And
now again. Om
say once again.
Shanti.
Say it really loudly. Om Shanti with all your heart. Okay.
हम भी आप सबको देख के
Looking at all of you
आप
today
सबसे मिलकर
and meeting all of you, I'm extremely pleased.
बाबा के भिन्न भिन्न स्थानों से आए हुए
You have come from Baba's
बाबा
different
के
places.
लवली बच्चे,
You are Baba's lovely children.
लवली कहें या
Should we say,
लवलीन कहें?
should we say that you're the lovely children, or are you the loveleen
बाप
children?
दादा ने
Bab Dada,
अव्यक्त बाबा ने
Avyakt Baba,
लवली और लवलीन
has spoken about love, lovely, and loveleen. You must have heard the recent Avyakt Bab Dada's Murli. Have you heard this Murli, the recent Murli? Lovely children and loveleen children. So all of you, you are the children who are merged in the love of... What are you? Are you the loveleen children merged in the love of Baba, or are you the lovely children? What do you think? Please answer. Yes, have you got the translation? What do you think? Are you the lovely children, or are you the loveleen children? Please answer. Loveleen? Okay. So loveleen children are those who are merged in the love of Baba. So loveleen children are the ones who, having received the imperishable jewels of knowledge, they play with them. That one continues to celebrate the meeting with the Father, and whatever the imperishable treasures of these jewels of knowledge that you receive from Baba, continue to play with them, because these imperishable jewels of knowledge, they are not the ones that you play physically with them, but Baba gives us these jewels of knowledge as a nourishment for the intellect. Our intellect remains powerful. Our intellect should become divine, and in this intellect there are the elevated thoughts, pure thoughts.
सुख देने के विचार
thoughts which
सदा
bring
चलते रहे,
happiness to each one, and that they
ऐसी
constantly flow
बड़ा
through us. Such a
ऐसे
nourishment,
ज्ञान रतन
such jewels
बाबा
of
हम
knowledge
बच्चों को देते
Baba
हैं,
gives us
और उन
children.
ज्ञान रतनों का
And
लाभ अथवा उनसे
And the
हम
benefit through
अपनी
those
बुद्धि
jewels of
को
knowledge, in
इतना
other words, that we
शुद्ध,
can make our intellect
इतना
so
पवित्र
pure, so
और इतना
clean,
विशाल
and so vast.
तब बना सकते हैं
We can only have all these
जब
qualities in the
हम
intellect
इन मिले हुए खजाने को
when all the treasures that we have received,
अंदर
we
में
repeatedly continue to think about these treasures internally. So the subject for this evening
विचार सागर
is
मंथन ऐसा है
is how to churn. It's like this, isn't it?
मैं तो समझती हूँ आप
I
सब
think that all of you,
विचार सागर मंथन करना तो जानते ही
that
होंगे।
all of you know how to churn
विचार
knowledge,
सागर मंथन करना अर्थात
to churn on the ocean of knowledge. In other
विचारों
words,
का जो
means
सागर है अंदर
that the
बुद्धि
ocean
भी
of thoughts which is there
सागर
within
के
us,
समान है,
this intellect is also
जिसके
like an
अंदर
ocean in which
बहुत सा खजाना भरा हुआ है,
there is a lot of treasure.
और उसके
And
लिए बाबा
for
हमें
that, Baba
रोज
repeatedly, every day,
यह ज्ञान रत्नों
gives
का
us
खजाना
this
देता
treasure
रहता है।
of
उसको हम
jewels of
जितना
knowledge. And
मनन करेंगे,
as much
मंथन
as we
करने
can
के
churn,
लिए
and in order to churn,
पहले
first of
आवश्यक
all,
है
the first
मनन
most
करना।
essential thing is to think about it.
मनन करना अर्थात
So to
जो
think
कुछ
about
हम
it means
सुनते
that
हैं
whatever we
उसको
hear,
बार बार
we should
अपने
repeatedly
अंदर याद करना, स्मरण
remember
करना,
that,
स्मृति में लाना।
to repeatedly bring those points in our
और इस
awareness.
मनन करने का भी
And
विशेष आधार
And the basis of thinking about these
जब
thoughts
हम सुनते हैं
is that when we listen,
उस समय
then at that time
हमारा अटेंशन ऐसा चाहिए
our attention should be such
जो उसके
that-
सिवाय और कहाँ भी हमारा ध्यान न
that our
जाए।
attention should not wander anywhere else except that point.
सुनने
And
की
as we are
हमारी
listening,
बुद्धि,
the method of listening
हमारे अंदर
within
यह
us,
स्मृति पक्की हो,
our awareness, our remembrance should be so firm within us. Which remembrance, which awareness? That
सर्वशक्तिवान बाप
that the Almighty, powerful Father,
नई विश्व का रचयिता,
the one who creates the new world,
सारी रचना के आदि मध्य अंत को जानने
The
वाला
one-
त्रिकालदर्शी
the
बाप,
one who knows the beginning, middle and end of
ऐसे
this
बाप
creation.
से
Such a
जो हमारा
Trikaldarshi Father
बाप
who knows
भी
the
है,
three aspects of time.
शिक्षक भी है
He is
और
our Father,
सतगुरु
teacher,
भी है।
as well as our
सतगुरु
Satguru.
की महिमा को भी हम जानते
We
हैं।
know the praise of Satguru.
ऐसा ऊंचे ते ऊंचा शिक्षक,
Such an elevated,
जो ज्ञान
highest
का
on high
सागर है,
teacher, the one who is the ocean of
जो
knowledge.
ज्ञान बाबा देते हैं, जो
That
knowledge
knowledge
बाबा देते
which-
हैं,
The knowledge which he gives us,
ऐसी knowledge कोई दे ही नहीं सकता।
no one
सारे
else can
drama
give
के
this
अंदर।
knowledge in this
इतना
entire
ऊंचे
drama.
ते ऊंचा बाप
Such
और उनकी
such
इतनी
a highest
ऊंचे
on
ते
high
ऊंची
Father,
knowledge,
and his highest on high
और
knowledge,
वही
and that
हमारा
very
बाप
one,
भी है।
he is our Father.
ऐसी स्मृति के साथ,
So along with such a
और इस
remembrance,
स्मृति के साथ
and
हमें
along with this
अंदर इतनी
remembrance,
खुशी,
we should experience so much of happiness.
खुशी के साथ साथ
And along with this
नशा,
happiness, we should
ऊंचे
have
ते
that
ऊंचा बाप,
intoxication, that the highest on high Father, the Almighty, powerful Father,
परमात्मा पिता
the
जिसको
Supreme
सारी
Soul,
दुनिया याद
the
करती
Supreme
है,
Father, the one who is
ये
remembered
अंदर
by the entire world.
सूक्ष्म में
This should be thought
बाप
of
की
and
इतनी
experienced
महानता, इतनी
in a very subtle way, to know His greatness and to know how elevated He is. And when we have such an awareness, then along with that, Baba, what does He teach us? Whatever He teaches us, in that there is a great power hidden. So when we sit with such an awareness, such a remembrance, and also with such an elevated sentiment, then our attention stays on the Father and His elevated statement. So when we listen with such attention, with such happiness, and with such an elevated sentiment, when we listen to Baba's great statements, God speaks. God's praise is unlimited. To have so much of happiness with us, and that will fill us constantly as to what else is Baba saying. And as Baba is talking to us, one pays a lot of attention internally. And at that time, whatever point you listen at that time, one has the attitude that this is indeed such a high, elevated point. There's a lot of depth in this point. So, if we listen to such great statements of the Father with such an attitude and to develop such an elevated sentiment, and such elevated sentiments are awakened within us. So, as we should listen, proportionately, the mercury of happiness should rise within us. Therefore, whatever we will listen, we will remember that, because in the intellect there is nothing else. So the intellect is also merged in those great statements, and the drishti is also towards the Father and no one else. I remember that Sakar Baba, Brahma Baba, when we used to listen Murli at that time. So if anyone if somebody just looked outside, if there was some distraction outside, then Baba would immediately point out and say, this one is not attentive. And Baba would immediately draw attention to this carelessness. Supposing we liked anything and we were liked, then Baba would again stop us and say, no, just keep on looking in front of you. Your drishti should be in front and your intellect should also be there. Because when the Father is sitting and talking to you, see, the Father is explaining to you with so much of happiness, and He's sitting and explaining to us with so much of love to us children. On one hand, He's giving us the knowledge, and on the other hand, this is the most elevated expectation of the Father for His children, that my children should become so elevated. Who were my children once? They were so elevated, they were complete with all the divine virtues, they were deities. So the expectations, these elevated expectations which the Father has for His children, and Baba addresses us children with that sentiment, and He wants to make us the highest and highest. So as Baba speaks, proportionately those sentiments, those feelings, when we catch those and are able to listen to them with greatness, then the flow of Baba, then that flow of love from Baba, we experience that, and through this love, and with as much love that Father is explaining us, And with such an elevated vision that the Father is looking on us, it is as though that starts getting merged within us. And along with that, then we should have such an elevated feeling, such an elevated sentiment as to how we are listening the Father's statement. We should not miss even a single word in that. Every single statement we should remember that. We should have that determination within us and continue to listen. So as we continue to listen, we should continue to experience happiness. Of course, everybody listen. At this point is worth paying a lot of attention. These great statements of Baba are extremely essential for me. So at that time, at that very time, when you notice these points for yourself, then whether we take notes or underline them, but still, even as we take notes, the attention of listening, drishti, let us continue to take that. We are listening to him in front. So with such feelings, with such sentiments, we are listening. So when we do that, then we do not forget. We remember that. And when we repeatedly revise that, and in other words, when we repeatedly revise, churn on that, then as we continue to remember the same point, we will experience that in these great statements, what is the power which is of the Father, of the Supreme Soul, which is filled in his statements. So the Father has given us the knowledge of the beginning, middle and end of this creation. So Baba has said that you children are the spinners of the discus of self-realization. And we have been listening to this repeatedly, and now we have understood, and we now also have the explanation of that. But still, when we listen to that, so in this, what is that special thing that Baba reminds us of? So as much as attention, as much as we can give a greater attention on what Baba is saying, proportionately we'll be able to understand the depth of Baba's great statements, and with that awareness, we'll be able to think about it. So first is attention, and after that attention, and to understand the significance of the elevated statements of the Father. If that remains in the memory, in the awareness, so as if we listen to the great statements of the Father in such a way, then Baba says, each great statement is worth lakhs of rupees, hundreds and thousands of rupees, because it is extremely valuable, and we'll only appreciate that because we are understanding them. Because it is valuable, because it is through this knowledge our life becomes so elevated. It becomes so pure. It is through these great statements within us, there is the power of purity, there is the power of divinity. And if we remember the Father with this degree of purity, then that becomes Yog Bal. That means the power of Yog. So Baba has made us the instruments for making the new world. So in that world, the Father makes us so elevated. So such feelings, such remembrances, as much as these things can remain immersed within us proportionately, we will be able to understand the great states of the Father with such subtlety, with such refinedness, and understand its depth and take benefit of that. And after that, we will churn on that what other depth is in it which can make us powerful. So, as much as we will be able to churn on it, for example, Swadarshan Chakra, that is to be spin the discus of self-realization. Now you've understood the meaning, you have the explanation, and also one has, it is also to know the self, to recognize the soul, and in addition, and to be able to imbibe the qualities. Then how the soul has the part in the whole cycle, Baba gives us this entire knowledge. So this is the meaning of the word Swadarshan Chakra, that is to spin the discus of self-realization. But then again, when we start thinking about, again, let us try and see it from a different point of view. It is as though we are the ones who know the entire drama. So the one who knows, he has the entire knowledge. So all the actors, and he has the knowledge also of the part of the actors who are playing in the drama, and how does one have to play one's own part with the other part player, this knowing the significance of the part and what are the benefits of knowing that part. So the knowledge of this is imbibed, so is present, and as much as we will churn on these points, we will be able to clearly understand this, and accordingly we will be able to place and stabilize ourselves on such an elevated stage. So when we come to play our own part in the drama, and in front of us there are so many different part players in front of us, and we come in and interact with so many with different part players, and sometimes we experience that the others, we may not like the part of the others, but this knowledge, it stabilizes us on that stage that we do not get disturbed by their part, so that even if we do not like the part of another, but we do not allow ourselves to get disturbed by the other person's part. So our wasteful thought will not be wasted, because we'll know that each one has a different part. Therefore, how much benefit we have taken through that knowledge. We become so knowledgeful. So in this way, the first lesson that Baba gives us, I am a soul. Each one knows this word, soul. Everybody accepts that there's a soul and the body. Now, even as you accept this, even though you understand that, but because one doesn't have the complete knowledge of that, one forgets, one gets entangled by the name and form of the body and not consider oneself to be a soul. And therefore, in any situation of the world, we change from time to time, because we are influenced by the situation or circumstance, and therefore there is the experience of disturbance, and therefore we have wrong kind of thoughts, and sometimes there is the experience of peacelessness in the mind, sometimes there is the happiness, sometimes there is happiness for someone and there is hatred for another. This continues. But when Baba has given us the recognition that who am I and whose child am I,
सूक्ष्म,
and so subtle,
इतनी छोटी सी,
such a tiny
जब बाबा ये
point.
पॉइंट बताते हैं
So when
हमें,
Baba gives us this
देखो
point,
कितनी छोटी सी आत्मा,
see how
उसमें
tiny this
84
soul
जन्मों का पाठ,
is, and there is
कितनी
a part of
wonderful
84
knowledge,
parts, such a wonderful knowledge.
हमें महसूस होना
We
चाहिए
should
कि यह
experience,
कितनी वंडरफुल और
feel that this is such a wonderful
कितनी
knowledge. In
वैल्यूएबल
other
है.
words, it's such a valuable knowledge.
यह बात समझना,
To understand
यह
this,
निश्चय करना,
to have
और
faith on
निश्चय
this,
के आधार
and
पर
based on
उनके
faith,
क्वालिटीज को अपने जीवन में धारण करना,
to be able to
और उन
inculcate
qualities
those
से
qualities in
हम
our
कर्मों
life,
में आते,
and
अपने
then if
कर्मों
we
में
come
लाते
in,
रहे.
if we bring those qualities in our
ये
daily,
सारी
everyday
बातें
activities, in our
जितना
karmic
हम उस
action,
पर चिंतन
so as
करते
much
हैं,
as we
उतना
churn
हमारे
on
अंदर
it,
वो
think
स्पष्ट
about it,
होती है, और
proportionately
फिर
it
उसका
gets
विस्तार
clear in our
होता
mind.
जाता
The
है
whole
अंदर
point
चिंतन से, क्योंकि बुद्धि
clarifies
शुद्ध
itself
हो गई.
because the intellect becomes
बुद्धि के
pure.
अंदर और
In the
यहाँ वहाँ की
intellect,
कोई
there
बातें
is
नहीं
no
है.
other
जो
thing
भी कुछ हम देखते हैं
except for
इस
being
नॉलेज
present
के
in the
आधार
moment.
पर
It
समझ
doesn't
में
wander
आता
here
है.
and there. And based on this
अगर
knowledge,
हमारी
everything
बुद्धि
is clearly understood now.
इसी
If
ज्ञान के चिंतन में लगी हुई है,
so, if this intellect is constantly busy on the
बाप की
churning of this
स्मृति में
knowledge,
लगी हुई
it
है,
is engaged
तो जो
totally
कुछ
and
देखते
completely in the
जाएंगे
Father's
तो
remembrance,
वो हमें
then
समझ
whatever
में
we'll
आता
see, then we will
जाएगा.
continue to understand what is
और जो
taking
बाबा हमें
place.
समझाते
And
रहते
as
हैं,
Baba is
वो
explaining us,
जितना जितना हमें
and as
हमारे
much
जीवन में धारण होता
and as we
जाएगा,
continue to inculcate upon that in our
जितना
life,
जितना हमारी उस बुद्धि
and
चिंतन
proportionately
में लगी हुई
our
होगी,
intellect will be
तो
busy in
कहा
the
जाता
churning,
है
then it is
जैसा
said,
चिंतन
as the churning,
वैसी ही हमारी चेतनता बन जाती है.
and so would be our
आप
consciousness.
जानते हैं,
You know,
अगर किसके मन में कोई
suppose
बात की चिंता होती
if
है,
somebody is worried or concerned
तो
about
उसके
something,
चेहरे
then
के
if you look at the
features
face, if you look at the
उस
features
समय
of
के
that
लिए
one for that particular time,
बताते हैं कि इसको
they
कोई
reflect
बात के अंदर
that this one is
गहरी
worried.
चिंता.
This one is worried about something
तो
deeply.
जैसा अंदर
So,
चिंतन,
so as the churning within,
ऐसा हमारा चेहरा,
so our face.
अर्थात
In other
ऐसी
words,
अंदर की चिंतन ख्यालात वो चलती रहेंगी,
so
अटेंशन वहाँ रहेगा.
because our mind will be constantly
फिर
occupied with
ऐसी
those kind of
स्थिति
thoughts
में
and will
खुशी
draw our
गमी का
attention,
प्रभाव
and
आता
then there'll
रहेगा,
be the experience of
या
sometimes
फिर यहाँ
happiness
वहाँ की
and sometimes
बातें
sorrow,
बार बार आने
and
से
sometimes you'll get
अंदर जैसे
overwhelmed by other
गूंज
things.
रही
It
है.
is as though one is getting
ऐसा
confused
चेहरे
within,
से पता
and
चलता
one
है.
comes to know by just
परंतु
looking
जब
at the
हम इस
face.
स्मृति में हैं,
But if we are in this
तो इन
awareness,
सब बातों से छूट
the
जाते
godly
हैं
awareness, then we
और
are
हमारे
liberated
अंदर
from all other
वह
worldly
खुशी
things,
रहती
and
है.
we experience that
जैसे
degree of happiness
स्थूल
just
में
as
भी
even
कोई शक्तिशाली भोजन या आजकल कहें
if
जो
even in
दवाइयाँ
physical
देते
sense,
हैं
suppose
विटामिन्स की,
they give medicines,
तो
such
उसमें
vitamins,
जितनी शरीर
so
की शक्ति बढ़ती है,
so through that the
तो वो
nourishment of
शरीर
the
से
body
महसूस
increases,
होता है उसका
and
चेहरा,
then one
उसके
sees from the
शरीर से
face,
लगता है
it
ना.
appears that oh yes,
इसी
this one has
प्रकार
taken a lot
से
of vitamins. In the
यह
same
जो
way,
हम इसको ज्ञान को,
we say,
इस
we refer to
गॉडली
knowledge,
नॉलेज को
we refer to this godly
बुद्धि
knowledge,
का भोजन कहते
we
हैं.
also call it as the nourishment for the intellect.
जैसी जैसी बाबा नॉलेज बताते
So
जाते
as
हैं,
Baba
जैसे
continues to
आज
give us
बाबा ने
the
आज की मुरली
knowledge,
में,
just as in today's Murli,
भले वो पॉइंट हम सुनते आते हैं,
even though we have been
लेकिन
continuing to
आज
listen
बाबा
to
ने
that same
बताया
point, but today
कि
Baba
अभी
said
तुम
that right
देवी
now
देवता धर्म की स्थापना कर रहे हो, अर्थात
you are
फाउंडेशन डाल
establishing,
रहे हो.
or in other words,
और
placing
इस
the
झाड़
foundation
का
of the deity
फाउंडेशन,
religion, and therefore the foundation of this
देवता
tree,
धर्म के झाड़ का फाउंडेशन
and
अभी डालते
you are
हो,
placing the
और
foundation of
इसकी
the deity
वृद्धि के
religion,
लिए
and for its expansion,
इसमें उनके पत्ते भी तुमको ही तैयार करने
and
हैं.
you alone will have to
याद है
also
आज की?
prepare the
और
leaves
धर्म
that will come out
वाले
of it. All those who belong to other religions,
वो अपने धर्म का फाउंडेशन
They just
जैसे
lay the
अभी हम
foundation of their
sapling
religion.
लगाते हैं,
So just as if we are planting a
वो
sapling now,
sapling नहीं लगाते हैं,
the other establishers of
वो
religion, they
आत्माएं
don't plant
ऊपर
the
से
sapling.
आती है
Those souls
और
come
अपना
from
धर्म
up above,
स्थापन
just
करती
establish
है,
their religion,
परंतु
but
उनको पत्ते तैयार नहीं करने
but they
पड़ते
don't
हैं,
have to prepare the
क्योंकि
leaves because
उन धर्मों की आत्माएं
the
धीरे
souls of
धीरे
other
धीरे
religions,
ऊपर से आती जाती
they continue to keep coming from
और
above.
हमारा
And
यह
our,
देवता धर्म
this deity religion,
वो यहाँ ही हम सैपलिंग लगाते हैं,
we
अर्थात
plant its sapling
पुराने
over here
झाड़
now.
से
In other words, from the old
बीज
tree,
फिर
we
निकाल के
we
लगाते
take
हैं
the
जिससे
seed,
नया झाड़
we
बनता
we
है
sow that through
और उस
which the
नए
new
झाड़
tree
के
comes out,
पत्ते भी
and the
इस
leaves of the
पुराने
new
झाड़ से
tree,
ही
they
फिर
are also,
उनको नया बनाते हैं,
so
पुराने को
they also,
परिवर्तन
they
करके
transform the old tree and make it
नया
new.
बनाते हैं। अर्थात
In other words,
बाबा हमें जो अब नॉलेज
Baba,
दे रहे हैं
the knowledge which Baba is
कि
giving us,
हम
that now
अभी परमात्मा की संतान आत्माएं
we, the souls
यह
of the Supreme
नॉलेज
Soul,
मिलने से
by receiving this knowledge,
हम स्वयं को
we
आत्मा समझ करके आत्मा
we
की
consider
qualities
ourselves
को
as a
धारण
soul
करके
by
जो
imbibing
हमारे
the qualities of
पुराने
the soul.
जीवन की क्वालिटीज है
So the qualities of our old
उनको
life,
परिवर्तन
we
करते हैं
transform them,
और
and
ब्रह्मा मुख वंशावली ब्राह्मण
and the mouth progenies of
जो बाबा ने बताया
Brahmins,
है कि
that
ब्राह्मण
which Baba has
जीवन
mentioned, that Brahmin
सारे
life
कल्प में
is
श्रेष्ठ
the most
है
elevated in the entire
क्योंकि
Kalpa,
इस
because
ब्राह्मण जीवन में ही
it is only in this
हम
Brahmin life that
सर्वशक्तिवान बाप को जानते
that we know the
प्राप्त
Almighty,
उनके
powerful
आकर
Father.
बनते हैं
We come
और
to belong
उनके
to Him,
द्वारा ये
and it is
पूरी
only
ड्रामा
through
की
Him
नॉलेज
that we get the entire knowledge of this
अभी ही
drama.
हम जानते
And
हैं
now also
जो
we know
नॉलेज देवताओं
that
के पास भी नहीं है
that knowledge which was not present even
अगर
with
इस
the
बात पर
deities.
हम
So
चिंतन
if we were
करें
just to think
तो
about that,
कितनी
churn on this
ऊंची
point.
नॉलेज
So
है
this is such
कितनी
an
ऊंची
elevated
बात
knowledge.
है
This is such an
हम
elevated
कितने
point.
साधारण
We are so ordinary.
पुरानी दुनिया नर्क में
The old
रहने
world,
वाले
the ones who used to stay in hell in the
और
of the old
उससे
world.
बाबा हमें
And Baba
परिवर्तन
has
करके
transformed us, and
नर्क में रहते हमें स्वर्ग का
even
अनुभव
though
कराते
we had stayed in hell, He gives us the
हमें ये
experience of
स्मृति
heaven.
दिला
He
करके
gives
मैं
us
कौन
that
थी
remembrance, that awareness as to who am
कैसे हम
I,
आत्मा
how
पहले परमात्मा पिता के साथ
how
वहाँ
as
पे
a soul
परम
we used
धाम
to
में
stay in
निवास
the
करती थी
Paramdham soul
उस
world
समय
with our
मैं
Supreme
आत्मा
Father,
कितनी
and at that
पवित्र
time
शुद्ध
I, the soul, was so tiny and so
इन
pure,
पांच तत्वों के प्रकृति से परे
beyond the five elements.
आप सोचो कितनी
Just
ये
think,
महीन
this
बात
is
है
such a fine, subtle point,
और इसको हम
and
महसूस करें
let us experience that.
उसको हम रियलाइज
Let
करें
us realize
और
that,
अपनी
and
रियलिटी का अनुभव करें
let
तो
us experience our own reality, then
से पार चले जाते
we will go so easily beyond nature
जब
and
इस
the elements.
से परे है
So when we go beyond the
ये
elements,
प्रकृति का
then
जो तीनों गुणों के स्वभाव है
the
सतो,
three
रजो,
forms
तमो,
of nature, Satogun,
उन तीनों से
Rajogun,
परे
and
हो
Tamopradhan, we go beyond
जब
all
परे हो
three.
जाते हैं
So
तो
when we go
purified
beyond,
हो जाते
then
हैं।
we become purified.
फिर हमारे में
Then in
perfection,
us, the
purity
perfection,
emerge
purity gets emerged.
और जितनी
And-
जितनी हमारे में प्यूरिटी इमर्ज होती
And
है
as much as purity gets
क्योंकि
emerged
इन
within us,
सब तत्वों
because
की हलचल से इन तत्वों के में अंदर जो परिवर्तन आता जाता है
because
उन
all the
सब से हम
turbulence
परे हो
that
जाते
takes place in the elements, we go beyond all
Complete
that.
हैं। मैं जो हूँ और
We know
जैसा
that I know who I am as I am. We can experience ourselves in such a way when within us, when this awareness remains within us for a long period of time, and along with that awareness or remembrance, when we have yoga with Baba, Raj Yoga means it is the most elevated amongst all the yogas, and that is why. So one has the connection with the highest and high Father, and through that connection, these highest and high dharnas, through which we know the entire drama and reach the knowledgeful stage of that, then within us those qualities get emerged. Because in us, so as much as we can imbibe and merge the knowledge, the more we can understand that knowledge. And the basis of understanding is based on our churning. It is based on our awareness, it is based on our revision, it is based on our churning. And that is why Baba says that Murli is like a nourishment for the intellect. This knowledge makes us so light. It gives us so light of our own part. This knowledge, on one hand, gives us light. So it gives us that understanding. It makes our intellect vast. And at the same time, it is only this knowledge we become light. That is not heavy. We become so light. So in the intellect, for half a kalpa, whatever waste and rubbish that was there, that which was wasteful, whatever the account of sinful actions. So through the basis of the knowledge received from the Father, when we relate to the Father, and based on those dharnas, we are able to liberate ourselves. In other words, just as Baba says, "O souls, just remember me," and by remembering him, all the deposit of your sins, your account of sins, will come to an end. So with such an awareness, with such greatness, the more we remember the knowledge, and when we remember the knowledge, then of course in that knowledge there is the remembrance of the Father. In other words, the highest and high Father. This should always remain in our intellect, in our awareness, and the knowledge that we have received from him, it is the highest and high, and how it is, we have to churn on that. Just as we'll continue to revise that, churn on this, the whole point will start getting clarified. What are the benefits from it? How does the life get transformed by it? And after that transformation, we give happiness to others. So, and then we see this transformation in other people's life. And when the others get transformed, they give blessings to us. So that also gives us happiness. That also gives us a lot of bliss, pleasure. So as much as we can place our intellect on this journey, then in our mind there will be the elevated, pure thoughts. And based on those elevated thoughts, even in our action, we are able to raise our actions to an elevated plane, through which we become, for ourselves, we become we bring happiness to ourselves, and then we're also
जब हम
able
औरों
to
के लिए
give happiness
सुखदाई
to
बन
others.
जाते
Now,
हैं
when we become the ones who can
तो
give
हमें
happiness to
हमारी
others,
जीवन के अंदर
then
खुशी रहती है,
then in our life there is always
बल्कि
the
दूसरों
happiness,
से स्नेह मिलता है
and we get
और
love
अपना भी
from others,
सबके प्रति स्नेह बना रहता है।
and we
क्यों?
too are able to have love for all,
सार्वत बेहद के बाप के बच्चे हैं।
because all are the
ये
children of
बेहद
the
बाप की
unlimited Father.
बेहद की
This is
रचना
the
है,
unlimited
दैवी
creation of
रचना
the
है अथवा
unlimited
कहे
Creator,
ईश्वरी रचना है।
unlimited Father. Should we say this is the divine
ऐसी
creation?
स्मृतियों के साथ
So along with such
हम बाबा की
awareness,
नॉलेज को सुन करके
by
ये
listening to
ज्ञान
Baba's
रतन
knowledge,
है, अर्थात
that these are the
इससे
jewels
हमें
of
कितनी
knowledge,
प्राप्ति
and
होती
through
है, क्या
these
क्या
we
प्राप्ति।
get so much of attainment. What not attainments do we
पहली
get from them?
प्राप्ति
So first attainment is
अशांति से छूट जाती,
we become free from peacelessness.
व्यर्थ संकल्पों से छूट जाते,
We get free from wasteful thoughts.
द्वेष भावनाओं से छूट जाते,
We get free from the thoughts of
स्नेह
taking
भावनाएं हमारे अंदर
revenge.
जागृत होती है, जिससे हम भी
In
सुखी, हम दूसरों
contrast,
को भी सुख दे सकते हैं,
we get the
अर्थात
elevated
खुशी दे
thoughts
सकते हैं।
arrive. We want to give happiness to others. We remain happy, we give happiness.
तो महसूस करते हैं
So
ये
you
मनुष्य
experience
जीवन
that this human life
सुख के लिए है,
is
खुशी
for
के लिए।
happiness.
इसलिए गाया गया मनुष्य जन्म अति
And that is
दुर्लभ
why
है।
it has been said that the human life is
लोगों ने
extremely
तो माना है,
rare.
शास्त्रों ने बताया
People
है,
of the world have said
84
in the
लाख
scriptures
योनियों के बाद
that
एक
we
जीवनी
undergo
मनुष्य की
through
मिलती है।
84
कितना वो
lakhs, we
ऊंचा
rotate
महत्व
or
बताते
are
हैं।
going 84 lakhs of species, and and after
भले
that
बाबा ने
finally
हमें
we
नॉलेज
get a
दी
human
है कि
life.
वास्तव में
But
क्या है,
we now know
और
what
ये
is the knowledge that
कॉन्ट्रास्ट,
Baba has
इतना
given.
ऊंचा
So
कॉन्ट्रास्ट,
such a
इतना
huge
बड़ा
contrast,
कितनी
such a
ऊंची
big
नॉलेज
contrast.
दी है।
This is such an elevated knowledge which
तो एक
gives us
तरफ ये
that
नॉलेज
understanding.
कितनी ऊंची
So on
है,
one hand, this knowledge is
जो
so
ऊंचे से
elevated,
ऊंचा बाप
the
ही
one,
देता है,
that
ये
elevated knowledge
महसूस
which is
करना।
given by the highest on high
दूसरे
Father,
तरफ इस नॉलेज
to
की ऊंचाई
to feel
अर्थात
that,
प्राप्ति क्या
and
क्या
and
है,
then also to know what is the
उसको
attainment through
जीवन
this
में
knowledge,
अनुभव कर।
and to experience that in one's own life.
इसलिए बाबा
That is
कहते
why
हैं,
Baba
बच्चे
says,
रोज की
children,
मुरली जरूर सुनो।
you must listen
भले
to
अभी
the
हमें
Murli
लगता है
every
कि
day,
ये पॉइंट
even
हमने
though one may
बार
say
बार सुनी है,
that we have listened to
लेकिन
this point
सुनते
over and
हुए
over again, but even
उसका
so,
जीवन
we have
में
listened
लाभ कितना
what,
लिया है,
how
ये
much
हमें
of
कैसे
benefit have we taken in our everyday life by applying that point.
जितना
That is
उससे
something to be
हमें
thought of.
फायदा लेना चाहिए,
As much as benefit that we
उतना
were to
हमने
take from
लिया
that point,
है।
have we taken that?
क्या क्या उसमें बाकी कमी है,
What
उसको हमें अपने में भरना है।
we have to fill
इसलिए बाबा
ourselves,
हमें बार बार समझाते
whatever deficiencies and weaknesses that
क्योंकि
are
इस
there, we have to
नॉलेज
fill
के द्वारा
ourselves.
ही बाबा
And Baba
हमें
repeatedly
संपन्न
explains
बनाना
that
चाहिए,
because Baba wants to make
संपन्न और
us perfect
संपूर्ण।
through this knowledge. So he wants to make
संपन्न
us
अर्थात सर्व
perfect.
प्राप्तियों से
He
संपन्न,
wants us to be full of all the
जीवन के
attainments.
लिए जो भी प्राप्ति
So
चाहिए,
whatever attainments you receive, you want to receive for this life, you can get
चाहे
through
खुशी,
knowledge, whether
आनंद,
happiness,
संपत्ति,
bliss, wealth,
संबंध, संपर्क,
connections,
स्टेटस,
relationships,
जीवन के
status.
लिए जो भी चाहिए
So
वो
whatever
भी
you
प्राप्ति
need
होती
for
है,
the life, you get that as
और
well.
आत्मा को
And
जो चाहिए,
and whatever the soul
आत्मा
needs,
का खजाना,
the treasure of the soul,
प्रेम,
love,
आनंद, सुख,
bliss,
शांति,
happiness, peace,
वो भी हमें मिलता है।
that also we
तो
get.
सर्व प्राप्ति संपन्न हो जाती
So we become the embodiment
है।
of
जो
all
जीवन
attainments.
देवताओं
life,
की गाई जाती है,
That life which was
सर्वगुण
spoken of
संपन्न,
the
16 कला
deities,
संपूर्ण,
those
संपूर्ण
who are full of
निर्विकारी,
divine virtues, 16 celestial
मर्यादा
degrees
पुरुषोत्तम,
complete, those who are the upholder of maryadas,
जीवन मुक्त,
those who are free from the
जीवन में
bondage
रहते
of karma.
सर्व
Even though one is
बातों
living in
से
the life,
मुक्त,
they are free beyond
और
the
सर्व
bondages of
प्राप्ति
actions. And
संपन्न,
those who are the
जो उस समय
embodiment
को
of all
कहा जाता है
attainments, so
अटल अखंड निर्विघ्न
those who
राज्य।
So that kingdom which is constant, unbroken, free from
ऐसे
obstacles.
राज्य को ही
So
स्वर्ग माना
such
जाता
a
है।
kingdom is called
ऐसी
heaven.
स्वर्ग की प्राप्ति
So such an
और
attainment of
ऐसे
such a
स्वर्ग
heaven,
के स्थापना के लिए
and for
बाबा
the
ने हम
establishment
बच्चों
of
को
such
निमित्त
a
बनाया।
heaven, Baba has made us children
फिर हम
instruments.
अपने
And
उस
then,
स्टेटस पर आ जाए।
and then we should come to our
बाबा
status.
हमें अभी
Baba,
हमारे से क्या चाहता है?
what does Baba want from us now?
विश्व को ऐसा स्वर्ग बनाने के लिए
In order to make the whole world such a
बाबा ने
heaven,
हम
Baba,
बच्चों को निमित्त बनाया।
Baba has made us
इसलिए
children
हमें
instruments, and that is why
सर्व को सहारा
we have to
अर्थात
give support
सर्व
to
के
all. In
प्रति
other words,
हमारा स्नेह भाव,
we should have the loveful attitude towards
सर्व के
all.
प्रति
And for
हमारा
all,
ये शुभ सहयोग,
this should be
जो
our
हम उनको
pure
बाप की पहचान
cooperation,
देकर के बाप से मिलाएं।
so
ये
that
कार्य
we
बाबा
can
ने हम बच्चों को दिया।
so that we can give the true introduction and enable them to meet the
जब ऐसी
Father.
बात याद
This is the
करके और
work that
अपने
the
को
Father has
एक
given us.
बाबा
So,
का इंस्ट्रूमेंट समझ
so when
करके
we
हम
consider
चलते
ourselves to
हैं,
be an instrument in this, in
तो
such an
अपने जीवन
awareness,
की धारणाएं,
then our life's
मुख्य
dharna,
धारणाएं,
the main dharna,
पवित्रता,
main inculcation is
सत्यता और दिव्यता।
purity, truth and divinity.
ब्रह्मन जीवन के अंदर
So in Brahmin life,
यह तीन मुख्य धारणा है।
these are the three main
मन, वचन,
inculcations.
कर्म से पवित्रता।
To be pure in the thought, word and deed.
आत्मा तो सत्य है ही, अविनाशी
The
है,
soul
सत्य
is
है।
pure, it is imperishable.
परंतु हमारे
But still,
जीवन में भी
but in our
वह
life too,
सत्यता की शक्ति जागृत
that power of truth
ऐसे
should
स्वयं को
awaken. So, in this
अविनाशी
way,
शुद्ध सत्य
consider
स्वरूप
yourself to be
आत्मा
imperishable,
समझकर
pure, embodiment of truth. Consider yourself to be that quality of
इस
soul.
शरीर से
We
स्वयं को न्यारा अनुभव
go,
करते
we
हुए
get detached from this body
न्यारे ते न्यारे
and
ऊंच ते
go
ऊंच
beyond to the highest and
बाप
high
की याद में बैठे।
and sit in the remembrance
हम
of the Father.
15 मिनट के लिए
And now for 15 minutes, we will sit,
ऑलराइट।
we will now sit in remembrance for 15 minutes.